There was no county attorney, there was no executive assistant, and there was no county auditor. So obviously, those three key and critical positions had to be filled rapidly, and we did that. Within a month or so, we hired a fairly serviceable county attorney and an excellent executive assistant who has had to move on. She had some personal issues, and we certainly regret her having to leave, but we're in the search process right now, and we're hoping to have an excellent candidate come on board here within the next couple of weeks. And also, the clerk and the deputy clerk and I met with our new auditor, James Moore, and brought them on board, I guess, in December, I believe. So that those were things that had to be addressed right away, and we had a lot of success doing it. Evaluating the financial position, it's no secret to anybody in this room that Bradford County is in very, very poor financial condition, and we've got to figure out a way to fix that. So after reviewing all the county budgets, we started talking about the need for franchise fees and impact fees. We met with business leaders to get ideas from them on potential revenue sources. And we're also exploring grant opportunities for technology infrastructure projects, which we'll talk more about later. Lazy assets, and there are more than a few in Bradford County. Just a few examples: we terminated a lease with the city of Hampton for the fire station that we were using out there. That's resulted in reduction in insurance and utility costs. We also terminated a lease with a delinquent tenant in Brooker. Now the commission has to decide what we're going to do with that building, whether it be lease it or put it up for auction. Whatever the case may be, we'll put it back in service or sell it or get out from under it in some kind of way. There was vacant space in the annex, and CareerSource approached us about signing a lease and having them move in there to do business. They moved in last month, and now we're getting $1,800 a month in new revenue. There was a piece of property on Brownlee that was part of a settlement agreement. It belonged to the county, and in the settlement, the county agreed to turn it over to a private owner, and that put $21,000 of taxable value back on the tax roll. We also terminated a building lease for a building that was being used by the fire department for vehicle maintenance. We moved them in with our public works vehicle maintenance facility, so they're co-located, causing efficiencies for that, and also resulting in over $15,000 worth of savings annually. Attractive nuisance. There's a property in the golf club that is foreclosed, it's vacant, and the previous owner had gotten permission from a commission before this one to go in and dig a pond. Well, when he sold the property, the new owners stopped making payments, got foreclosed, and of course the pond fell into disrepair. I went out there a few weeks ago to look at it, and it's completely grown over. You can hardly see the water, but the neighbors, the commissioners have been getting complaints from the neighbors in the area for the frogs keeping them up at night croaking, and the mosquitoes are unbearable, and there's even been alligator and water moccasin sightings, but you know how that goes. So we've gotten in contact with the management company for the property, and we just got permission this week to enter the property and mitigate the hazard by filling in the pond. Santa Fe boat ramp and driveway. This is another involved in a legal settlement with the county. We were having neighbors out there with a dispute, and it was finally decided that we would build a private driveway for the property owner and put up an 8-foot privacy fence. So that had been outstanding since May of last year. So we wanted to make that a priority as soon as we got in here and got started. The county received $5.4 million in ARPA funding, and when I arrived, there had been no spending plan, and I was asked to put one together. So we did, and we allocated $500,000 for the renovation of the RJE Community Center. and $895,000 for the replacement of the HVAC and the roof on top of this building, on top of the courthouse. And then one of the things that I'm most proud of this commission for doing, for allowing us to do, is allocating $4 million of the $5.4 million to partner with the city of Stark for water and wastewater extension out Highway 16 to the bypass. And I know our good friend, Mayor Roberts and Clerk Crosby are here with us tonight. So we talked about relationships earlier, and our desire, our need, is to develop a better relationship with the other government agencies in the county. And partnering with the city of Stark this way, I believe, is a step in the right direction. So we're very excited about that. And, well, I'll get to that other thing later. I mentioned earlier that we contracted with James Moore for our auditing services. And one of the things we talked to them was identifying additional ARPA funding. We had heard there was some out there. So indeed, we found another $100,000, and we've received the first payment of $50,000, and then the second payment of $50,000 we should be receiving any day, which is fortunate because we believe that there's going to be some cost overrun on the HVAC and the roof for this building, so we'll have that money available there to cover that if need be. We met with the clerk's office, folks in the clerk's office, and the Florida Association of Counties Trust representative to do a review of our insurance policies. We've identified opportunities that will cause us to adjust coverage, and there will be some financial savings there. This is an ongoing process. I'm not sure exactly what the total dollar amount is going to be, but it will be helpful, I can tell you that. And we've scheduled follow-up meetings to do that. So back in the early fall, late summer of last year, before I started here, I sat on the Keystone Heights Airport Authority Board. And we had resigned ourselves to the fact that this $2.3 million was going to go away, because we couldn't get the project completed in time. So there wasn't much talk about it, and we like I said, we resigned ourselves. And then when I started the job here, my public works director, Jason Dodds, and I were sitting, talking about this project, and we said, you know what, why don't we take a run at it? Why don't we see if we can get at least a portion of what the original scope was, and go out there and do what we can do and spend as much of that $2.3 million as we can. So we did. We called DEO, and I'll tell you, they have been wonderful to work with. They have bent over backwards to help us. Instead of the entire project, they let us modify the scope, and we got good news today. We've jumped all the hurdles. We've relocated all the gopher turtles. We've put up the silt fence, and we're now on Monday supposed to get the permit from the St. Johns River Water Management District, the last permit that we need, and then we can start construction in earnest. So what great news this is. That access road is going to mean a lot to the airport and to Bradford County. And I know Todd Falconer's here tonight, and this road will allow him to receive his shipments in almost a direct path into the MHD Rockland campus. So, and we're going to talk about that more later as well. Project Douglas. This is another project that I was actually working on before I got hired here. Most people know this building as the old government surplus warehouse south on 301. It's a 100,000 square foot warehouse. And MHD Rockland is desperate for warehouse space. So when I found out that the building actually was in control of the Department of Emergency Management, I called over there to the director. He's an old friend from Jacksonville, and told him what we were up against. And he said, by all means, we'll transfer ownership to you, and you can do what you need to do for economic development and job growth. So this has been we're into about probably the 8th or 9th month of moving this thing along. Once we got it out of DEM's hands, it went to DEP, and that's been a nightmare. But we're making progress. We received a $20,000 Enterprise Florida grant to do the environmental piece that they were requiring, and they've done all the desktop work. They completed it this week, a 910-page document, by the way. And then they go out there next week to do the borings and the site work that they have to do. And then at that point, we'll turn all that back into DEP and hopefully get it in front of the governor within the next couple of months. Now, one of the things or a couple of the other things that MHD Rockland is working on is they received a $27 million loan from Space Florida a couple of years ago to expand their campus at the airport. And the new construction for a 3-story flight simulator and admin facilities, that would take place on the Project Douglas property. And I think it's just notional right now, Todd. I'm not sure that's exactly a firm plan, but that's right. So that's the thoughts that are going into this. So we have a wonderful private partner here with us tonight, Vincent Essen. I think most of you probably know him. But Vincent's idea is to reimagine the closed landfill on Highway 100. We see an opportunity there to put in a solar farm, install solar panels that will power the RV resort and possibly be of benefit to the county as well in terms of utility cost savings. And all it's going to require is a change in zoning, and we're certainly ready to do that when the time comes. That same wonderful partner, Vincent Essen, has agreed to build living quarters at Fire Station 10 in Speedville at no cost to the county. This will allow for around-the-clock fire and EMS service in that area, which is one of the fastest-growing areas in Bradford County. So thank you to Vincent, and this deal is already signed and sealed, and we're just waiting to start construction. So we're very, very, very happy about that, and it will be staffed with existing personnel. So once again, no cost to the county. The Lake Sampson boat ramp, we met with FWC early in November on site to get an idea of where we were, and because it kind of drug on for a little while with no action. So we got the ball rolling out there. Since then, the 90% design plans have been completed and the permitting process has begun. And then the next step will be to apply for the construction grant. The Local Technology Planning Team, LTPT. As I look around the room, I see a number of you that are actually on that planning team. We held our organizing meeting on March 27th with a follow-up meeting on April the 3rd. And the team is comprised of roughly 25 community leaders and subject matter experts. We had to educate ourselves quickly. None of us were familiar with the process. The Florida Department of Economic Opportunity, they had created the Florida Office of Broadband, and we were unfamiliar or unsure about how to proceed. But we all put our heads together. We got through it. Thank you for the leadership of Chairman Andrews. And we ended up sending letters of support to the DEO office for both Comcast and Windstream. They sent us their maps and their plans, and we decided to endorse both of them because the two plans were complementary. Most of the Comcast work would be done in the northeast portion of the county, the northwest portion of the county, and the Windstream work would be done in the southwest portion. So we thought that it was an excellent idea to have both opportunities covered, and so DEO got their letters of support last week. Now, I could probably have at least 3 slides, maybe 4, for based upon the report that our wonderful library director, Robert Perron, sent me. But, Robert, I had to condense it down to 1, otherwise we would have to get popcorn. So. But he's done wonderful things over there. They have done wonderful things over the last 6 months, new training and building programs, expanded services. They now even have a notary and fax services that generate revenue. And they have served over 23,000 people in the last 6 months, conducted 102 programs. He's developed a plan to upgrade the computer software with our IT department, and he's still adding programs to meet the needs of the students and the citizens. I had the privilege of going over there at Christmas time and calling Children's Bingo. Is that what it was called, Robert? Yeah. And, of course, the Grinch was there, and it was great seeing a room full of kids enjoying that in that time of the year. So thank you for that opportunity, Robert. Next is our UF-IFAS, Bradford County Extension Office. We have wonderful folks down there, and we are on an upward trajectory when it comes to that office, and we're very, very excited about the future. Just a few of the things that we've done there is we've expanded the 4-H clubs and events. We have volunteers that reduce county and university labor costs. Master food preservation volunteer program with training, food giveaways, irrigating school gardens, local crop and garden soil testing, planning for an ag school project at Stark, and summer programs facilitated by UF interns. So thank you for your great work, Lizzie. Phosphate mining. This had been an ongoing problem, and almost immediately when I went to work here, I was approached by a number of private citizens that were very, very adamant, very tenacious, and were seeking some resolution to this phosphate mining matter. So it came to a head at one of the commission meetings, and I was directed by the commissioners to reach out to the company that had the application to determine whether or not they wanted to withdraw it, or if this was going to be an ongoing thing, or just what happened. So our planning and zoning director, what's your name? Randy Andrews. He reached out to the company, and within a couple of weeks, I guess, we had a letter from their attorney stating that they wanted to withdraw the application, and it was a done deal. So thank you for that, Randy. And then, of course, there was the very fun thing called redistricting. It just so happened that this came up a couple of months after I started, so we had this to deal with. I must say that it went off quite well. That's a typo, I believe. No, maybe not. The first workshop was held on January 23rd, and then the second workshop on the 13th of March. And then at the final workshop, map on the 10th, map D2 was adopted 9-0. Now, both boards are currently going through their advertising requirements, public advertisement, and I believe our board will be voting on the second meeting in May. The Oracle Innovation Lab in Deerfield, Illinois, back in January, I was invited to come up there and meet, and the reason for the visit was to promote Bradford County and the Keystone Heights Airport as a potential site for another Oracle Innovation Lab. They want to build 4 more in the continental U.S., and they like Bradford County. So we've had 3 follow-up meetings, and we're currently forming a steering committee. And I don't want to jinx anything or say anything that's not true, but I'm very excited about this. Statewide engagement. We talked about building relationships locally and within the region earlier, and I believe it's just as important to try and raise awareness of Bradford County and what we're trying to do here at the state level as well. So in July, I have been asked to serve as a panelist at the FCCMA, the Florida City and County Managers Association annual conference. It'll be a 5-person panel, and the topic for that session will be manager and commission relationship building. So I think I have something to offer in that area, or at least someone else thinks I do. And so we're looking forward to going there. And the neat thing about that is when they publish their agenda book with all the itinerary and schedules in it and everything, you're gonna see under that particular section, my name and then Bradford County. And I think that's really important because this is a big conference, a big event, and when you look in the book and you see Bradford County, that's what we like, that's what we want. So, I also facilitated classes at the Rotary President-elect training down in Orlando a couple of months ago and was able to network with all the President-elect Rotarians from across the state. A number of them were in government, so that's always a good thing when you can network that way. And we've attended the Legislative Day in Tallahassee, made several trips over there so far. Commissioner Doherty and I went once, and then we had the Legislative Day, so we're getting good exposure over there and having good success over there. And then, of course, next week we'll be attending Rural County Days in Tallahassee. Training and professional growth. We've attended, and these were some of the things I mentioned earlier about attending along with the commissioners. We attended the Florida Association of Counties Legislative Conference in November, the Florida Rural Economic Development Summit in December, Access 67 Broadband Summit in January, and then, of course, we'll have the Florida Association of Counties Annual Conference in June. So once again, we're out there, we're learning from others, we're hearing ideas and networking and trying to move Bradford County forward in that way. What's next? Where are we going from here? So a lot of the things that I mentioned previously are still underway. Some of those things are ongoing. In addition to that, one of the things that I've identified is that Bradford County needs help in the Human Resources Department. We currently do not have a department or even one individual dedicated to the human resource function. So we want to take a look at that and see if it would be the right thing to hire a consultant, put a consultant on retainer, and have that service available to us for whenever we need it. Because we do need help with recruitment and retention and with updating our current policies and procedures. I don't think archaic is too strong of a word to use when it comes to our policies and procedures. They're just so outdated and they need attention desperately. So we'll be looking at that. We have to evaluate impact fees. We know that development is coming. We have to get ahead of it, and if impact fees are the way to go, that's something we're going to need to consider. One of the other things we want to do is some professional countywide strategic planning, and I know that there's money available in the form of grants out there to pay for that. So I believe that's something we need to take a close look at and get done sooner rather than later. The other thing is franchise fees for the utilities. Florida Power and Light is already on board with this. All we have to do is the board to pass it, the signatures to be signed, and we're off and running with FPL. Clay Electric's a little bit of a different animal, so we're trying to figure out how to navigate that. And you remember back to the slide, the lazy assets. I want to take a close look at all the county-owned properties in Bradford County. I know there are many of them that are either not being used or not being used efficiently, whatever the case may be. They're off the tax roll, we're paying insurance on them, and I believe there is a significant amount of cost savings that can be realized if we take a close look at that. So that'll be one of the things we'll be doing. So this is actually my wife Diane's favorite quote, and she's a lot smarter. If you know her, she's a lot smarter than me, and a better public manager than me. So if this is her favorite quote, then we probably ought to take a look at it. A leader takes people where they want to go. A great leader takes people where they don't necessarily want to go, but ought to be. Rosalind Carter said that. And I think that's where we are right now. We're kind of in that place where we have to lead to places that are sometimes uncomfortable. Hard decisions have to be made, and I think that's what we're doing, and I think we're doing it thoughtfully, deliberately, and correctly. So thank you for that, Diane. My Diane, not you. So I'm friends and have relationships with a number of city and county managers across the state. And we all have at least one thing in common, and that one thing is none of us sleep very much at night. It's a big job, it is, you know, and not only that, what scares me is the fact that there's so much possibility and so much potential here in Bradford County. And so I think we should be afraid of the enormity of the possible. Madam Chairman, that's all I have.
Can I say something? Mr. Scott, I mean, the little time you've been here and your staff, that's from me, but you did a job and you did it right. And we appreciate you. And I think this board ought to give you a standing ovation.
All right, board, if we'll hold off on our comments just for a minute. I see some community leaders in here. If y'all would like to come up and roast oh, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to say roast. Boast about Mr. Corrigan, please feel free. All right.
All right, thanks for having me. I just want to say, same thing Kenny Thompson said, you know, in a short period of time, Scott's been here, has been
Amen.
impressed. I mean, impressed. He calls me up for support, you know, he cares about the county, he really believes, and I think he's doing a fantastic job. I think things are starting to move, where in the past was kind of, you know, just never really got over the hump, and Scott's just doing a great job. So thank you, I appreciate it. You have the support from me and my company, so anything you guys need, just let me know. But great job.
Thank you.
Mr. Vince, we thank you too.
Thank you. Mr. Crosby, Mr. Roberts.
Thank you, and I'll make this brief. We could go on. I think that was a great presentation that touches on a lot of things. There's several things in there that, from the City of Stark standpoint, we've been part of and y'all been part of. I think it goes back to when, I know y'all sit up there and make a lot of decisions, and if you're like me, you wonder if they're going to pan out or whatever. I can tell you that y'all hit a home run with Scott Cornegay.
Amen.
Yes, we did.
And
Amen.
and that's something that hopefully will let y'all sleep a little bit at night, but maybe not him. But he does a great job. He has done you a great job. My gosh, in only 6 months. I know my relationship with him from the City of Stark, and I think Jimmy would say the same thing. There's a lot that's been done. One of the key things he said, and he said it was a key, and I can tell you for sure, and that was an open door policy. You know, we've gotten some things done. I know that it's nice to sit down at the City of Stark, because Scott understands we're all in this together. You know, what's good for the City of Stark is good for Bradford. What's good for Bradford is good for the City of Stark. And it's nice to sit down there, and if something comes up, well, let's call Scott Cornegay. Let's see what they have. It's nice to have his input. He has the skill. He has the knowledge. He knows the people. I've not sat in a meeting that I don't feel like he's added something to the meeting. I've seen him show up at meetings that he probably didn't have to, but he did because it's the best for the county. There's a lot of things that probably didn't get put up there on the slide. Those little things that get done that make something 12 months from now. And I can tell you Scott's doing that. I was happy when you hired him. I'm even more ecstatic that he's here doing the job that he's doing. It is a task to run these governments, and he's the man for it. He participates in everything. He's got that personality and the knowledge, which is great to have together. Because sometimes you'll find somebody that has the knowledge, but you can't quite work with them. Right. I believe that Scott Cornegay's got both of them, and that's when it becomes a home run. I know from the City of Stark, Jimmy might want to say something, but we have been more than ecstatic to have him down here as a resource really for us. Sometimes we call him, you know, and looking at the big picture, and that's what we all need to look at. And I think y'all have done a super job when you hired him. It's only been 6 months. It's amazing.
Thank you.
His board is blessed.
Mainly just came to amen the mayor, but the truth is, you did hit a home run with him. I'm not the wordsmith that Commissioner Thompson is, but the last meeting I was at, he said, if you don't put it in the ground, they won't come around. And I have not forgot that saying. I thought that kind of
None of
sewed
us
up the
have.
whole thing. But truthfully, Commissioner Daltrey, when he was chairman, I know for well over a year, pushed. We gotta do something, we gotta build our way out of this. We can't pay our way out of it. He said, you gotta have economic development. And Chairman Andrews come in right behind Chairman Daltrey and stayed on message. And that message was strong, the message was good. But the truth of the matter is, when y'all leave here, somebody's got to pick the ball up and run with it. And that's gonna be your staff leadership. And that's under Scott Carnegie. The first time I met him was at a Rural Economic Development Council meeting. I'd not met him before that. And one of the things that a lot of people don't realize is happening in Florida right now, the urban areas have saturated. No more people can really move in them because the water's not available, the infrastructure's not there. And our governor and the Senate leadership and the House leadership chose a couple of years ago, we're right in the middle of it, to emphasize rural economic development. And the most impressive thing that's happened that really shows where Scott Carnegie is, he found out that we were getting ready to go down to a couple of communities that were small just a few years ago, but through no desire of their own, just started having economic boom and people moving in Central Florida area, and they got prepared for it. They laid the groundwork for it, and we went down to look at that. And when he found out we were going down, the mayor and I were going down, he called. He said, do you mind if I tag along with you? That said everything. That said everything. He's saying we want to be partners. And we could have not been more delighted in that. Again, I'm not the wordsmith that Commissioner Thompson is, but the truth is, Stark's the county seat, and that means it's the seat of the county. And the biggest reason for that is because we have the water and the sewer. And if you meet with DEO, Department of Economic Opportunity, they're going to tell you all development revolves around whoever has the water and sewer. But it's not the city of Stark's water and sewer alone. It's Bradford County's water and sewer.
Amen.
And y'all have put your money where your mouth was, and you stepped up. And I just want you to know, at the city end of it, we've recognized that. And we could not be more delighted in the leadership you picked to come in here. All that I'd ask you to do is pay attention to him. Let him lead you. Sometimes that's not always easy because there's a lot of tough decisions going to be made through the year. And when you question your own positions every now and then when he's trying to take you somewhere, that's the hardest part to do. But you got a great leader. Y'all did a really fine job in that selection. And we just wanted to come down. We knew this was happening tonight, and the mayor and I talked about it, and we just felt like we had to come down and say something. You did a good job, Commissioner.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
And don't be trying to recruit him either, Mr. Crosby. I'm just saying, okay.
Madam
How you
Chairman,
doing?
Commissioners, my name's Todd Falker. I'm the Vice President of Flight Operations for MHD Rockland, and I can only echo what everybody else has said. You all know who Scott is, and it's he's such a valuable person for not just us, but I live here too. And I'm so happy to see that somebody that has a philosophy like I do, where no doesn't mean no, it just means you can't do it that way. And it's very important. Scott has taken the Douglas project, which I thought when he left the airport was going to be a dead issue, and yet another stumbling block in our development plans here. And he's turned it completely around and has made more progress than I thought you would, Scott. So I just want to say thank you very much, and you do have a good man.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hey, Mr. Roberts?
Chair,
Yes, sir.
Commissioners, thank you all for the opportunity to speak. I want to echo just what everyone else has said. I won't take a lot of your time. I didn't know Scott till he took this position, and I have been thoroughly impressed. That presentation in 6 months. That's pretty awesome. And, but I've always been impressed with him. I've personally been able to watch how he handles himself around other community leaders, business partners. I know how he is respected amongst his peers in the communities near us, and I also know how he's respected in Tallahassee. And as we all know, all of that is important. Not just how he deals with people here, which is, I've heard nothing but good things, but however the other communities in our areas, including the ones here in the county, but out of the county and at Tallahassee. That's all important. You've got a good man. I think he's taking you in the right places. We as a company look forward to working with Scott, you guys, and I will add, his selections that he's added to his team in county attorney and the auditor couldn't have been better ones. We work with Rich in other areas, and I was on the phone this morning with some of James Moore's folks. So you couldn't, he's building a great team, which is part of it. Thank y'all for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you for this opportunity to speak. A lot of y'all don't know me. I'm Scott Fryer, Vice Chairman of the Keystone Heights Airport Authority, and I'm here to complain. What I want to complain about is y'all hiring him because you took him away from our airport board. So I think there's been so much said, but one thing about Scott is he has impacted the Lake Area region, Stark, in so many ways. He was actively involved with SOLO, which is Save Our Lakes, which I believe morphed into Lake Region Development Corporation, which is bringing the pipeline of water down to the North Florida recharge area. And he's killing two birds with one stone, and he's been a part of that. I'm not going to say it's all his idea, but he was very effective with that, and that will help mitigate problems for the people up there at Black Creek with his efforts. One thing I'll say about Scott is Scott can bring people together that don't necessarily like each other, just like was quoted. I don't think he understands the word no, and he's not afraid to knock on any door, and he's demonstrated that to all of you. Right now, when he talked about the road development over there, I was absolutely amazed, and I'm going to tell you right now, Scott, I didn't believe you could do it, but Jason, I mean, these guys are out there busting their butt right now. We've almost got a clear shot of Highway 100 from the Keystone Heights Airport right now at this moment. The efforts he's put forward, he's kept me informed, not necessarily on a daily basis, but at least weekly. Jason's reaching out, working with us. Again, we hated to lose him, excuse me, from the airport authority, but his leadership when he was the manager for the city of Keystone Heights, his efforts with SOLO and Lake Region Development Corporation, his input on the board was valuable. He's just done so much for this area, and you should certainly be proud to have him. And the biggest player in the room right now, keep your eye on the prize, is going to be MHD Rockland. As he continues to work with them to develop their campus, what we hope to see is job growth. I believe Todd will be hiring more people. You're going to, I don't know what the negotiations will be on taxes, but I think you're going to realize a tax benefit from their presence. And it's just doing so much to put you on the map here. Thank you for your opportunity, or this opportunity to speak to you, though.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening, Madam Chair and Council. Commissioners, I too want to echo what's been said. I first met Mr. Cornegay when he became the city manager at for the city of Keystone. And we developed a great working relationship there. In fact, prior to him coming on as city manager, not a lot of people knew about the Keystone Airport, especially those in Green Cove at the county seat for Clay County. And through his efforts and his network, the communications that he has with so many, everybody knows where the Keystone Heights Airport is now. And not only that, but with the Lake Region Development Corporation, we had him on our board as an intergovernmental and commercial development, and what an asset that was, in that when we would hit issues that needed state involvement, we had a resource to go to because he had that network in place and was always beneficial to us. And I'm like Mr. Fryer, and then you guys hired him away from us. But that's okay, because he's still an asset to us, and even a greater way, because part of the Keystone Heights Airport's in Bradford County. And what better representative do we have to help us with future things than having Mr. Cornegay as the county manager? So he's always been a great liaison, and I know he's going to continue to do that. And just, you know, his team, you touched on that too. You know, just everybody that he brings in has just been such a great help. Mr. Commando has been a great help to us as well. Sometimes I'll bend his ear about something, and so thank you for hiring him. Thank you for allowing him to continue to be a resource to us, and we're excited about the things that are ahead for the county, not just at the airport, but in Bradford County as a whole. We're going to see some great things come about. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Cornegay.
Thank you, David.
Don't be afraid, I'm opening up the book. It's not the whole book, I promise, Madam
Okay.
Chair, Commissioners. It's the deadline coming up to Rural County Days, so y'all know where my mind is at. So I had to write down my thoughts, because otherwise we're just gonna talk about everything that's gonna be amazing happening for Bradford County and Tallahassee next week. But what I wanted to say is, in my various roles, where I've had the opportunity to interact with many different people, your business people, your private citizens, your site selectors, your developers. One of the things that has been very interesting to me is when I'm in these conversations and Scott Cornegay's name comes up, it's always positive. I rarely hear anything of any concern. Typically what I hear is, Bradford County did good when they hired him. And I kind of have to smile and say, you know, you're right. Some of the things that he mentioned in the slideshow, Project Douglas, that, you know, I was very happy to be working with and trying to help Todd with, you know, make that come to fruition. I thought it was dead. I'd gotten the answer from state of Florida, it wasn't happening. They had gone radio silent on us. He picked up the ball and made it happen. I mean, it's coming together. I was like other people. I don't know how he does it, but people can't tell him no, because he doesn't know himself. So I've been in meetings where he's attended, and one of the important things is he knows when to sit and listen. But when he does speak up, the things he says, they're important things to be said. I make sure that I learn from him. I listen when he speaks, because the things that he's inputting are very knowledgeable from all of his various roles that he's come up with. Y'all have all seen him jump in with the odds that weren't favorable to set him up for success. Y'all saw in the slideshow what he stepped into with no attorney, no auditor, no admin. I don't know how he didn't just throw his hands up and go, this is not what I signed up for. This is not it. But he built those relationships. He hired those people. He repaired the relationships that needed to be repaired, I think even on some of the council and other entities such as City of Stark. He's resolved some of those issues that never should have been kicked down the road, as long as they were, that some of those private citizens did bring up. So you've seen those successes. He's helping make those difficult decisions that you and him are all having to work together to get done, and that's building the momentum here in Bradford County. It's being seen in everywhere that I go, not just here. When I'm in Tallahassee, had the opportunity to go to DC, and all of our surrounding communities, they know that things are happening in Bradford. That means that good things are being made, the decisions are being made. And I'm really excited to see the results that's coming in the next 6 months, and hopefully the next 6 years. And I know I'm just one person, just one boring banker that wears a lot of hats sometimes, but I wanted to say thank you for hiring him. Thank y'all for supporting him and giving him the resources he needs to help make the changes in our community.
Thank you, ma'am. Okay.
As Patricia said, we're about this deep in Rural County Days, which is next week. But as many have said, the chamber, our service area, as a lot of you know, is Keystone, Stark, and Lake Butler. And so I've met Scott years ago when he was in Keystone. And I can remember whenever you guys were considering him, and I kept thinking, oh, please let them know this is their choice. And thank you for it being your choice. I knew how he worked over there and the things he did. As Patricia said, you never hear a negative, and that's always good. That means that's someone that can work with everybody. I mean, you don't You don't always even have to like everybody, but you can work with them. So that's such a positive, and it's a positive for our county, which is something we've always wanted. We always knew we were kind of the unknown county. That's how Rural County Days started, because people thought we were Broward County. So we went up there saying we're Bradford. And as he said, now we've got documents, all over the place. Bradford County, Bradford County. And, as part of the chamber, that's what we do. We try to promote and lift up. And it's so nice to have Scott. He does attend our TDC meetings, our tourist meetings, and our development authority meetings. We know that's metamorphosizing and changing, and he's been instrumental in helping us with that, because, when the governor says, poof, you're gone, and you have to figure out where you're going, it's been a challenge this year, and Scott's been very instrumental in helping us and the board decide what we're going to do to help our county. And as Patricia said, I couldn't believe he's done all that. I kind of knew it, but Scott, you never sleep. I know, all the hats, But thank you so much, and for having the wisdom to choose him, and for letting him help us. Because as I usually say, I just don't know what all I don't know, but he's such a great resource. So thank you.
Amen.
Thank you. Anyone else? Okay.
I'd like to say something, Madam Chair.
Okay.
Miss Cornegay, if y'all don't know Miss Diane Cornegay, this is Scott's wife, and, as I always say, behind every good man is a good woman. And so, welcome. Thanks for being here tonight and hearing all the great things you already know about your husband. So, thank you. Yeah, right. Good, thank you.
He's a good guy, and I appreciate what he does for this county. I've seen a big, big, big change, and I appreciate it. And we love him.
Mr. Red. Yes, sir. Go ahead. Okay.
Yes, I just want to say, I tell you what, we make a lot of decisions on this board, but this was definitely one of the best decisions we've ever made when we hired Mr. Cornegay. And I'll just tell you, when he was here the first couple days, I kept coming up here and talking with him and encouraging him, because I thought he was going to quit any day. I really did. What you see, what a mess he was thrown into. The man just walks in there. There's nobody in there. He don't even have a secretary. And I remember one day I was in there talking to him. I said, Mr. Cornegay, how's it going? What do you think? He said, well, I feel like I'm drinking water out of a fire hose. And that just stuck in my mind. So I'd call him even more to encourage him, because I tell you what, though, but he's the best thing that we've done in Bradford County in a long, long time. And every one of y'all that are here tonight, I thank you so much for coming. I thank you for your comments, and that just shows even more what a great leader that he is. And also our staff, each and every one of our staff members. Jason, I don't want to start naming names, I'll forget them all, but our staff, our department heads, they have all just risen to another level because of the great leader that Mr. Cornegay is. So I just thank you so much, and looking forward to working with you, and again, always. And like I said, just doing a great job. Thank you.
Thank you. And just what everyone said earlier, and again, to use, echoing, but, I think that one of the things that we really wanted to do when we brought Mr. Cornegay on was just to sit at the table, and I think now we're on the menu, so I really just hearing what all you all are saying about everybody else, they recognize, who Scott is and the work that he does, and I'm just glad to be on the menu, and I hope somebody picks us for, several projects down the road. So thank you again.
Ms. Bennett?
When I met with Mr. Carnegie for the award, and he said he was on the agenda, and he said, my presentation will probably take 45 minutes. I said, are you kidding me? So he has brought a lot to our county, and we appreciate having him, and we look forward to working with him in the future on some wonderful, great, and more enormous projects to come. There are a lot of good things that are happening, and we're going to work together as a team, continue to do that, and working in conjunction with our other municipalities. And Bradford County is going to be well known on the map of the state of Florida.
Mr. Carnegie, the one thing I can say is you are what Bradford County needed by far. We've been in a hole, and things have, as you can see, fallen behind. And I can't begin to tell you how much I appreciate, one, your work ethic, the way I love the fact that you don't take no for an answer. Because to me, no is just find another way of doing it. I love that about you. I love the fact that you get along with people and that you're able to contact people and just the way you present yourself, and it's very professional, and it really puts us in a good light. I can't begin to tell you how glad I am you are here, and I can't wait to see what's ahead of us. And I look forward to it. I'm excited about it. And because I know beyond a shadow of a doubt, great things are coming. I love the fact that we're with the city and we're working with the city as a group, because the more people that work together for the good of the one county, the better this county will be.
Amen.
And with you at the helm, I know that we're going to accomplish a lot. So thank you again. Thank you for allowing him to come here with us and be a part of us. And welcome to Bradford County. So thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Can I say one thing real quick? This wasn't all about me. I mean, these department heads that we have, unbelievable. I'm tough on two of them, and they know who they are. I'm very demanding on those two guys, and they just absolutely continue to produce and overachieve. And that's what's gotten us to where we are. The leadership of our department heads and their willingness to work through problems and to enjoy success that comes with it. So I want to publicly thank all of them that are here tonight. Thank you all very much for your hard work and your dedication.
Well, I've always said that the people that are in service look for a leader, and it's the person who raises their hand and says, I'll take it. So thank you for raising your hand. Thank you for sticking it out that first few weeks, and can't wait to see what's next.
Thank you.
All right. Are we gonna move on? Okay. So our next item, we don't have any public comments, or I don't have any, y'all don't have any, right? So we'll approve consent agenda.
So moved.
Okay. Mr. Thompson, do I have a second?
Second.
Okay. Any discussion? All right, so we'll vote. Mr. Riddick?
Aye.
Mr. Daugherty?
Aye.
Mr. Thompson?
Aye.
Ms. Spooner?
Aye.
And Andrews, aye. Passes 5-0. Okay, we did the presentation. Number 5, we're going to wait on because Ms. Francis couldn't be here today. So we'll go to Mr. Thompson for the clerk's report.
I really don't have anything besides just remind everybody budget season's among us. But Dana has the half-year presentation for the board, and Rachel has a little bit after that.
Good evening, Board.
Good evening.
Tonight, I would like to give a brief update on revenues and expenditures through the first 2 quarters of the year. Once again, we will look at the following 3 funds: the General Fund, the Fire Rescue Fund, and the Road Department Fund. Before we get started, I would like to reiterate what I said at the last quarterly update regarding decisions that were made during budget time. There were 4 things. First, we used each department's fund balance to help balance the fiscal year 23 budget. This helped to zero out the individual fund balances in each department, and it also helped to reduce the transfer amount required from the general fund. Number 2, we transferred everything from the 1-cent sales tax and fiscally constrained funds to the general fund. And number 3, remember that once a fund balance has been used, it is no longer available at the end of the fiscal year. And finally, remaining funds in the fund balance should be those designated as reserved for contingency, and that requires board approval before spending. Okay, with that being said, let's look at the general fund. Okay, we began fiscal year 23 with a fund balance of $8.5 million. Recurring revenue for the first 2 quarters was $9.4 million. Expenditures totaled $9.1 million. The transfer from the 1-cent sales tax fund, prorated to 6 months, is $1.6 million. The transfer from the fiscally constrained fund, prorated to 6 months, is $833,000. This all resulted in a savings to the fund balance of $2.7 million for the first 2 quarters, making the current fund balance $11.2 million as of March 31st. If revenues and expenditures continue at the same rate, you can expect the fund balance to be around $14 million by the end of this fiscal year. Keep in mind, the focus should be on revenues versus expenditures. This is what shows if you are dipping into your fund balance or not. The 2 transfers listed in the table are simply fund balances that are being moved to the general fund. This is a one-time event and will not apply to future fiscal years. Do you have any questions about the general fund's second quarter update? Okay, next let's review the fire rescue fund. We began fiscal year 23 with a fund balance of $1.2 million. Recurring revenue for the first 2 quarters, including budgeted transfers from the general fund, was $2.8 million. Expenditures totaled $3.3 million, resulting in a use of their department's fund balance of $443,000 for the first 2 quarters, making the fire rescue's fund balance around $777,000 as of March 31st. If revenues and expenditures continue at the same rate, you can expect the fire rescue fund's fund balance to be around $334,000 by the end of this fiscal year. Do you have any questions about the fire rescue fund? Okay, finally, let's review the road department fund. We began fiscal year 23 with a fund balance of $1.9 million. Recurring revenue for the first 2 quarters, including budgeted transfers from the general fund, was $1.1 million. Expenditures totaled $1.3 million, resulting in a use of their department's fund balance of $189,000 for the first 2 quarters, making the road department's fund balance $1.7 million as of March 31st. If revenues and expenditures continue at the same rate, you can expect the road department's fund balance to be around $1.5 million by the end of this fiscal year. Any questions? Okay. So in your packet, there are other board funds for your review. Tonight, I chose to focus on the general fund, fire rescue, and road department budgets because they are the board's larger budgets. However, I would like to address a few of the other board budgets that represent a negative annualized fund balance. So starting on page 2 of your handout, the second one down is the SHIP fund. As you can see on the far right-hand side, it shows a negative $55,000 fund balance annualized. Just know that currently there's approximately $90,000 that will be transferred from deferred revenue. It's funds that we've already received, but we haven't recognized the revenue yet. So we'll be adding that to the revenue to offset that negative amount. We do have recommendation for the next budget year. If we increase the transfer from the general fund from $65,000 to $105,000, that would help to cover the administrative expenditures because we're only supposed to use 10% up to 10% of the funds that we get from the grant. Okay, so if you'll flip the page to page 3, the fine and forfeiture fund, right now it's showing an annualized negative fund balance of about $65,000. The estimated use of fund balance for this fund was $283,000, which is almost $135,000 less than what we actually started with this year. That was due to an audit adjustment that was done for the fiscal year 21. It was just unanticipated. However, this fund will not be over budget at the end of this fiscal year because the jail set-aside funds are also in that fund. So that'll help to offset that difference. And if you'll,
So these are actually combined together?
yes, they are. Okay, so finally on page 4, the 8th Judicial Fund, you'll see a negative fund balance annualized about $45,000. Again, this is another estimated use of fund balance for this fund was $78,000, but it's actually $65,000 less than we had actually started with the $14,000. This was due to a fiscal year 21 invoice that we didn't receive until October, and we had to backdate the invoice, and so there was less fund balance to use because we had to use it last year. This fund also will not be over budget at the end of the year because there are restricted funds in that same fund that they're never used completely. But we have a recommendation for fiscal year 24. If we increase the transfer from the general fund from the $92,000 to $140,000, this would ensure coverage and we won't see this negative situation next time. I believe Ms. Roden had something to add about the 8th Judicial Fund.
Yes, thank you, Dana. Madam Chair and Board, just wanted to bring to your attention, the county does have an ordinance in place, Ordinance 2004-25, and that ordinance is where there's a $15 surcharge that is applied to traffic citations. And so that revenue that we generate helps to go to this 8th Judicial Fund. The board can increase that surcharge from $15 to $30, thereby, increasing your revenue. So if you did that, currently the county generates approximately $92,000 from the $15 surcharge. If you increase that to $30, obviously you'll double that, so that'll be about $184,000 that you could generate in revenue. The board does currently contribute approximately $100,000 from the general fund to balance Fund 108, what Dana's talking about. And in fiscal year 24, we do estimate that the board will need to contribute approximately $150,000 from the general fund to Fund 108. So just as you're thinking about it, there's an opportunity, if you wanted to look at that you could generate that revenue through this surcharge by increasing that $15 to $30. And all it would take is just getting with your county manager and county attorney on amending that ordinance. I just wanted to share that. Thank you.
Any questions? Thank you.
Okay, and next is the sheriff's report. Okay.
I know that the sheriff doesn't have a report. May I make a comment to the sheriff and the law enforcement officers that are here? Today represents the memorial for our fallen officer, and just like to extend our appreciation to our law enforcement, and we do honor those who have fallen. Thank you.
Very sorry we couldn't be there. Okay. Now we'll hear from their county manager.
All right, thank you, Madam Chair. The first item I have is an authorization to proceed with CHW for the design and permitting for an in-house paving project of Northeast 219th Street between County Road 200B and Northeast County Road 225 in the amount of $26,000. Jason Dodds is here to answer any questions you may have about the particulars.
Do we have a motion to approve this?
I'll for motion for approval.
Do we have a second? Just one. Do we have a second?
No.
We'll get to discussion after we get it on the board. Do we have a second? Okay.
I will second the motion just to bring it to discussion.
Okay. Now we'll open it for discussion. So, Mr. Dobbs, you want to come forward?
Madam Chair, I wanted to offer the second to bring it to discussion. This is,
Okay.
I've traveled this road and, I just, at this time, I think that we have, some other projects and other road projects that, need attention and, for the short length of that road. And actually, that road's in not that bad a condition compared to some of our other roads in the county. So, that's why I wanted to, bring this up for discussion. And I just don't think that this road is a priority for the county right now and for the road department and the gas tax dollars.
Okay.
Can I say something? You know, what do you got? 5 people lives on that road.
I don't know the exact number of residents that live there. I know that there's an assisted living, or group home, I think, what you call it, on that road as well.
And it's,
Madam-
excuse me.
Go ahead.
I mean, can I finish?
Yes, sir.
And I mean, it is a mill road, and it don't get traveled much. There's a lot more roads that's, you know, that road ain't busy. There's a bunch of places down there that's abandoned. Huh? And the road don't get traveled much. Am I right, Mr. Jason?
I've never put a traffic counter out there, so I can't tell you that for sure, how many people travel it.
But the road is, I mean, it's in good shape as it is.
As a milled road, yes, sir.
Yeah. And I mean, there's not a bunch of traffic on that road because 3 of those houses are abandoned.
And one of the challenges we face, and I've said it in here before to the board, aggregate is next to impossible to get. So the people that do own asphalt plants ain't wanting to sell it because they need it for their own jobs. And, you know, we've got some on the books right now that can't move forward until we get through with the airport project.
And
But
I know what you mean.
I work for the county manager and the board, so whatever direction y'all give me is what I'm gonna go with.
Well, let me ask you this, ain't there a bunch more roads over there in that area?
We have
that
a
needs
list.
Worse than that?
He gave you a
I got
list.
it. Yeah, I mean.
That's the list that's approved by the board with
Right.
the addition of the ones that was asked to be added.
All right,
Okay.
I mean, all right, that's all I got.
Madam Chair, I'd like to advocate for the paving of that road. It is a very well-used road, and they have more than 10 homes on that. Not only the people who reside on 219, but the people who live on Northeast 10th Avenue utilize that road to get, because they're perpendicular to that intersection there. It's a frequently used road. It sits between 200B and 225, so it's often used as a cutoff for the people who are traveling in either direction beside the people who reside there. It's a road that is, the people have been complaining about for a number of years. The milling does wash out frequently and has to be patched. There is a group home that's there, and there are other residents who live about there. This, I'm really somewhat dismayed that there's even objection to doing it. This road is about 1/10 of a mile and needs to be done. And it's the right thing to do. There are at least 6, 7 roads that are in that area that need paving. So we did a priority in terms of the ones that could be done in terms of cost, the least cost. There are others that are they're in worse shape, that are in that area, 213, 216, 223, Northeast 20th Avenue and 17th. So we're looking at, within our budget structure, what that we could do in that area. But the citizens in that area have complained, and it has been neglected for all of these years, along with the other ones. I mean, it's been 30 years since a paved road has been done in that area. And I think it's unfair to that district for not one single thing to be done. And I'm, quite frankly, I'm just appalled.
Yes, ma'am.
Madam Chair, Ms. Spooner, I certainly understand what you're saying, but at the same time, just as we've talked about before, you know, when we start talking about roads in Bradford County and we start talking about the budgets in Bradford County, you know, these are roads that have been there for a long time. Nobody pulled the pavement up overnight, okay? So, again, that's, you know, when people move down those roads, they have that choice to move down that road. Again, I traveled the road. I think the road's in pretty good condition. And as Commissioner Thompson said, there are a couple of homes. There's one it looks like it's collapsed. The other one's abandoned, and other than that, you know, you've got 216th, which takes you from the road there by the prison over to 225, and then you can also go around to 225 to get around. So, again, that's my position on it, and excuse me for you know, going from a very positive presentation earlier to bringing this up, but I just don't think that this is a road that would merit to have that kind of money spent on it. And certainly, I think there's other projects. And I think 106, Southwest 106, is that the road that goes out to the
Sportsman Farm.
Sportsman's Farm?
Yes, sir.
That road there is a milled road, and that road, the amount of traffic that goes down that road and the amount of tax dollars that are generated out there at that facility, you know, those are the types of projects and those are the types of roads that we need to look at when we look at the tax base in that area and what's actually being brought in. And so, again, that's all I have to say about that, but I just wanted to mention that, you know, based on the condition of that road and the number of residents that are down there or the ones that don't even live down there, would just not be a choice of mine.
Mr. Reddick, do you have any comments?
Sure. What, and I don't know if y'all have done it or not, but, what if, Mr. Dodds and Commissioner Spooner ride together in her district and look at all the roads and come up with the one that needs paving the most?
We have rode together,
done that.
and she's created a list of 9 roads, and that was her priority road for her district.
Is that the one that needs it the worst, though? And and please, this is a hard conversation, but
I mean, it's her district, and then if that's the one she prioritizes first, then that's what I'm gonna go with.
I mean, is it the one that y'all go out there all the time and have to work on? I mean, I was out there the other week. Road's good, it's got thick milled on it. Do y'all
It's not one that we grade weekly, probably monthly, quarterly, something like that.
Okay. Well, are you done?
Yeah.
I feel like that, we have the list, and we know that the Sportsman Club, that's about to be done. We know that.
The Sportsman Farm is every week, if not
Right.
more.
But I also think it's extremely important that we work as a county, not just in certain areas. And I feel like if this is the priority of that, and it is the amount that we're looking at, that I feel like that we need to proceed with the thing. Now, I'm just one person, but that's how I feel. So,
Yeah.
any further discussion?
because I just know that in the past, we said that that we would go out and look at the roads and that we would prioritize them, but we would prioritize them as far as the maintenance and the potholes and all that. And that's the question I'm asking. If there's not a lot of maintenance on that road, but 3 roads over, you're having to maintain it every week, then it seems like that, you know, that's all I'm saying. And I know you're the, you know, the,
I've written, Madam Chair, written with Mr. Dodds, and also I've written with our county manager. And we had a list of all the roads that are needing and paving. There's some that are worse, but we're looking at the cost and when we're looking at our budget, what we can do that wouldn't be as a major cost, and try to do, continue until we have all of those done. And that is why that particular one was selected, because it would cost us the least. There are others that are in worse shape, sure enough.
I just think we continue to compound our problem and, by, paving these little roads here and there and still not taking into account. And when we talked about prioritizing, we have paved roads that are in this county that need to be repaved, that we're not getting DOT funding for, that are more what I would consider like a collector road, like 216th, for instance. If that road were in, just in bad condition, then certainly we would need to put money into that road, because that is a road that brings people from 225 over to the prison. That's a very heavily traveled road. So all I'm saying is that when we continue to look at, we can't pave every road in this county. We need to utilize these funds to be able to maintain the roads that we already have that are already paved. So again, that's my position on it, and I won't say anything else about it.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And Madam Chair, and I get that, Mr. Doherty, but we have to do something. We haven't done anything in the northeast area when it comes to paving roads. There are roads that are in horrible condition there, but there has to be something. All of the funds can't just go to the southeast or the southwest or everywhere except for that district. And I'm asking for this board to support me in an effort to get some paving done in the northeast district. It hasn't been done in 30 years. It's not fair to the citizens who reside there, and something need to be done about it. That's my position. It's not fair.
Okay,
And how long is that road?
it's a quarter of a mile, quarter. All right,
It's not a heavy travel.
It is.
any further discussion? All right, so we'll put it to a vote. Mr. Riddick,
Aye.
Mr. Daughtry,
No.
Mr. Thompson,
No.
Ms. Spooner,
Yay.
Andrews, aye. So it passes 3-2. All right,
Yes, ma'am. Item B is a request for waiver of the purchasing policy for the airport access road DEO agreement G0062. We're requesting this waiver because of the time crunch that we're under. We have to be fully complete and everything paid for by June 30th. And there's no way that we could achieve that unless we waive the purchasing policy, because Mr. Dodds is going to need to make purchases that exceed $25,000 and to get us done on time.
okay. So we have a motion to approve the agreement G0062.
Move to approve?
Okay,
Second.
all right. Any discussion? All right, we'll put it to vote. Mr. Riddick,
Aye.
Mr. Daughtry,
Aye.
Mr. Thompson,
Aye.
Ms. Spooner,
Aye.
and Andrews, aye. Passes 5-0. Okay,
Item C is an update on the Board of County Commissioners live streaming. And as all of you know, are aware, that we reached out to our folks, our fine IT folks, and they looked into it because the ask was to bring back the cost, if there was going to be any additional cost associated with the live streaming. And as a matter of fact, there's not. We're actually up and running right now, live on live streaming. So went ahead and pulled the trigger on that at no cost to the county.
great. All right. Mr. Commando?
Thank you, Madam Chair. From time to time, the commissions that I work for make a decision on whether or not they should evaluate the county manager. In doing that, it usually helps to have a tool, an objective tool that can be used to try to gauge performance and to evaluate your manager. So in your packet today is a proposed tool that is based upon the ICMA tool that's used by different local governments around the country. If there are other metrics that you wanted to see included, I would ask you to either send those to me, or if there are ones that you feel like don't apply and like to see those deleted, also send those to me. At this point, it really is up to the commission on whether or not you want to proceed with an evaluation, and if you do want to proceed with an evaluation, kind of what timeline you'd like to have responses in. You can send them to me and I'll tally them up and then present them to you at a later meeting.
Okay, we'll go to commissioners' comments. Mr. Riddick, you have anything?
I think the evaluation already spoke for itself tonight. But all the people here, I mean, you can't get much better evaluation than that.
Okay, Mr. Alder,
I agree.
anything else?
That's all.
Mr.
Oh, you
Thompson?
know, commissioner comments for doing that?
Yes.
Yes. I just want to say, Mr. Roberts left. His father passed away. No,
The other one?
Scott Roberts,
Scott.
yeah. His father passed away. He was a commissioner here in Bradford County, and just continue to keep his family in your prayers. And anyway, he served Bradford County, and not only as a businessman, but also as a commissioner. And he was just a great man, fantastic man. So anyway, just keep him and the family in your prayers. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Thompson?
I ain't got nothing.
What?
Good.
All right.
Bless my heart.
Bless his heart. Ms. Springer?
Yes, ma'am. And I think that the report was very good for Mr. Carnegie. And then I know that it's normal to do like an annual eval, so we can submit some matrix to you. But in terms, you're asking for our commissioner report at this time. I had the most fun I've had in a very, very long time. Last Thursday, we had an Earth Day with the Head Start children over at the RJE school site. And you talking about a good time. The children got to plant tomatoes and cucumbers. Chamors was generous enough to come out and use some of their workers to help build two raised mounds. And the children actually got to put the plants in the soil, water them with their little buckets, and it was just a fun time to embrace, preserving our earth and learning about plants and feeding America. So they have some tomato plants that they can actually pluck off there pretty soon and harvest those things. So one of the things that I also learned there, they said that one of the ladies who worked there, she said it was the first time meeting a commissioner, and she's worked there for, I think she said 32 years. So I want to encourage this board, the city and others, to go out and meet them. They're looking for people who would read story time. Maybe you have skills in painting, music, and so forth. And I didn't realize that anytime you go out to visit as a volunteer, it helped them with their funding so that they can keep their programs going. So if you know of people who can do story time and engage in a positive manner with the children, that's a wonderful, exciting program to be involved with. Also, just want to let you know that the hub is still moving along at the Church of God by Faith site, and it's going to eventually move to the RJE site. And if you haven't been by to see the progress on the gym, it's coming along nicely. And I look forward to next week when we travel to Tallahassee along with fellow commissioners and the manager. And Ms. Andrews and I are completing our advanced ACC 2 classes over in Citra. And so we look forward to working as a team in our community with our business partners and with our city and all the municipalities together, and we look forward to great things for Bradford County. One of the things we learned today at our training was the importance of having an economic development plan, and a part of that is doing it through strategic planning. So I look forward to when this board can work through our manager and do strategic planning so that we can have some specific goals that we're working towards for our county. And I thank you all for being here.
Well, today I jotted down a few things that I wanted to talk about at the meeting today. And the first one was impact fees, but we've already talked about that through Mr. Corrigan. Then I wanted to talk about our 5-year plan, which Mr. Corrigan already taken care of that. Updating policies and procedures, Mr. Corrigan took care of that. Revisit the impact fees and fund the fire and rescue, he took care of that. And the county's comprehensive plan, which he also took. So he made my little comments very short and simple. We are on the roll, and we're just going to keep rolling and hopefully get these things done. And thank you so much for coming out here and spending your afternoon with us. And we invite you to come to all of our meetings. And with that, we'll close the meeting. God bless you all, and good night.